For the last few months, I've been developing a football game where you play as little bug guys. In this devlog, I'm going to show you how I took my local multiplayer game and made it so you can play online with your friends. This was actually way easier to do than I thought, and maybe it's something you could use in your game to add some simple online multiplayer as well. If you're new here, I'm attempting to make a football game that's more gamified than your typical sports game sims. So even if you don't know every single professional athlete who plays a sport and don't quite know all the rules, you can still have fun. You play as a little cast of bug characters with unique abilities. My game's name is Bugball, and I'm using Unity to create it. In the last devlog, I got the gameplay working with local multiplayer. The only problem was, the experience of loading into a game looked like this. Yep, that's literally it. You press the button, then you get thrown into a game, you auto-assign the teams based on how many controllers you have connected, no deciding on what team you're on, no deciding what bug you have, you just randomly get given a guy. If you don't like him, it's tough luck, buddy. I feel like as game developers, the majority of us want to spend our time working on fun mechanics and features, or making our game look really cool. But realistically, if you want people to be able to play your games, there's a bunch of things you gotta add in, otherwise it's not really a complete package. Making sure there's sound effects for everything in the game, making sure you have saving and loading working, fixing tiny bugs no one's probably ever going to notice. There are so many things like this that go into making games that don't really make the experience of playing it any better, but if they weren't there, it would make the experience worse. Does that make any sense? Is that a complete contradiction? Hopefully you get what I'm trying to say. So recently, the main priority for me has been making it so you can choose what team you want your bug to play for, and choose what you want your bug to look like. So firstly, you can choose what team you want to be on, and then once everyone's readied up, you can all choose your bugs. Trying to consider all the possible combinations when each player has the option to ready and unready themselves was probably the biggest challenge here. Getting all of those edge cases was kind of a pain. Also, making each controller only control one specific part of the UI was something I've never really done before, and I couldn't really find a huge amount of information on, especially using the new Unity input system. So if you do want to know more about how I got it working, let me know, maybe I can make a tutorial or something like that, because I found a fairly simple way of handling it. Next is the bug selection screen, which may look like it's just one row of buttons that each player can choose from, but it's all smoke and mirrors. There's actually 4 layers of buttons stacked on top of each other that each player individually controls. Maybe there's an easier way to do this, but it was the easiest way that I could think of to get multiple controllers working to control the same set of UI. What's this here though? Last time there was only 2 bugs you could play as, and now there's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 whole bugs? Crazy straws. Let me introduce you to our newest bugs. Coming in hot, we've got Snaily McSnailington. Look at him go, he's the star of the show, leaving all his opponents shell-shocked. Next, straight from New Beesville, we've got Barrett B. Bensington. Look who's next, it's Anthony Antsman. He may be little, but he's got a great strength to body weight ratio. And finally, Bean. Yeah, this guy's a bit of a roster filler. At this point, the model was already attached to the guy, and it was only 5 of the guys, so it seemed like a small roster. So yeah, Bean. If you're wondering why the bugs look a little different, it's because I downloaded a free shader I found on the Unity Asset Store. It's not exactly how I want them to look, but it does a good job for now. My friend Alex has a framework that he uses in all his Unity projects, which has a bunch of really handy scripts and helped a lot with setting up this menu stuff. Alex also has access to the Git repo which I'm using for Bugball, and he's been helping me out a lot with bug fixing. He was the first person I tested the online with. After doing that, he wanted to add in a goalkeeper, and he added in these little dots to help you keep track of the player if you want on the screen. So big thank you to him. Go check out his YouTube channel if you want to learn how to program. Now, when you go into a game, you got a bunch of fun bugs running around. If you remember the last video, I said this. I want wacky power-ups and abilities. Yeah, that's right. I've got everything set up to add in abilities. For now, I want each bug to have an ability related to how the bug is in real life. So first guy I wanted to do an ability for was the snail, and I feel like what the snail might do is quite obvious since it's something snails do in real life. Yeah, that's right, roll around, knocking guys over. Go on, go get him. But for real, that was meant to be the woodlouse ability. I did actually give the snail a little snail trail. It speeds up your teammates, and it slows down your opponents. My main focus of this devlog wasn't really getting in the abilities, but I'm glad I managed to get them in as like a proof of concept. I've got a bunch of other ideas for bugs and abilities, but if you have any ideas, I'd love to hear them. Leave a comment, who knows, I might completely steal your idea. Okay, it's time for the moment you've all been waiting for. How I added the multiplayer to Bug Ball. Well, here's the thing, I didn't add online multiplayer in the traditional sense, but I did start the process of getting it on Steam, and part of that means I can use the Steam Remote Play Together feature. Remote Play Together acts as a way for your Steam friends to take over your computer and act like they're playing it with you on your computer, which is pretty cool because it means I can actually playtest with people without having to be there in person. I was a bit worried that streaming the game like this would have some kind of input lag for the other player, but even playing with my friend Alex, who's across the pond, he wasn't having any kind of lag. Obviously, there are limitations to what you can do with remote play, like you can only have one camera because you're all sharing the same screen, and it's limited to 4 players, but if you're making some kind of board game or split screen game, it could be a really cool way for you to add co-op or PvP without really any extra work. Literally, all you need to do to enable it is tick this one box in the Steam settings. I noticed the online multiplayer in the traditional sense, but I still think it's pretty cool that there's a way to play local multiplayer games online like this. There you go. I hope the Steam Remote Play stuff wasn't too disappointing, and that's what I've been up to recently. If you have anything you really want to see me add, like any ideas for bugs or power-ups, let me know. I'd love to hear them. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you in the next one.